welcome to Sleeve Chef. My name is Jana Wolff, and we are here with our Sleeve Chef.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great seeing everyone.
And we have some special guests tonight. Our vets, I would call them, right?
Yeah.
Jill and Brian. Introduce ourselves. First, I want to thank WMAR and Comprehensive Obesity Management Program and our marketing department at GBMC. So Jill, take it away.
Hi, I'm Jill Rosenthal. I had the sleeve surgery a year ago. I've lost 75 pounds. Thank you. And my non-scale victory is the friends I've made along the way. I started running with GBMC and met a lot of people that way, and they've just become very important to me, and the support they provide and the support I provide to other people has been immeasurable.
That is awesome. And I just have to say, I want to blow up your spot for a second. Jill was just telling me that she is currently running 12 miles. So I think that's also another NSV. All right. And Brian, take it away.
I'm Brian McRae. I had the sleeve on 4/21/2016. The amount of weight I've lost is around 230 pounds.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And my non-scale victory was I was able to be here past 40 to be with my kids. And more.
Amazing. Very good.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
All right. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for
I'm
having
so
us.
excited for you to try
Yeah,
our
can't wait.
awesome recipes tonight. So we're going to have them back up in just a moment after we are done cooking. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so we have an interesting session tonight, right?
We do.
Because we're doing something a little bit different, I would say. We're using different cooking implements,
We are.
and we're going to be talking about meal prep. So usually we just cook one dish, right? And we use a pan, and that's about it. But tonight, we're going to be using the Instapot. I do have some bad news, but good news. The bad news is that we don't have the air fryer. We do have the Instapot, and we're going to be using the air fryer at the next show. Okay. So, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're cooking tonight?
All right, guys. So we have got some very, very exciting dishes for you this evening. So we're going to do pork loin two ways. So we're doing a pork tenderloin. So one thing I love about pork tenderloin is that it's a very lean cut of meat. Very similar. So if you've heard of filet mignon before, filet mignon comes from beef tenderloin, which comes from the backside of the cow right along the spine here, which explains why it's so tender, because really where it's located on the animal itself. So pork tenderloin, exact same spot as a cow, and just as lean, just as healthy. So that being said, we're going to prepare it two ways. The first way, we're going to stuff it, which is a very traditional preparation. So we're going to stuff it with some Granny Smith apples and some pumpkin seeds. Light, simple, refreshing. And then also we're going to do it with a also very traditional way, which is going to be a garlic herb butter.
My favorite.
Yeah, so it's going to be super simple. And what we're going to do is we're going to use two very sort of straightforward cooking methods. One, we're going to sear it on our saute pan here, and then we're going to do it in the Instant Pot to really showcase really what the Instant Pot can do, and also how straightforward it is to use. So to give you a quick explanation of the Instant Pot, it's really a pressure cooker. So there's two types of cooking methods. There's a moist cooking methods and dry cooking methods. The Instant Pot, being a pressure cooker, relies on that moisture and that intensity to cook things twice as fast. So because there's all that moisture, it's going to cook it in a very warm, wet environment, which is going to help keep it nice and tender and cook it much more quickly than we would doing it either in a roast in an oven or directly in the pan itself.
And I would say that because we're talking about meal prepping tonight, that's why we're doing two recipes, because you can purchase more of the pork loin or even do this with a different type of protein like a beef or a chicken.
Absolutely.
And then you can freeze some of it. So especially because it's in a more wet environment, you can take it, freeze half of it, especially if you're one of those that doesn't love to eat the same thing every single night. Okay.
Our beautiful pork tenderloins.
So this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank everyone for joining us, which I forgot to do in the beginning. We wouldn't be anywhere without you guys.
Absolutely, guys.
So
thank you.
I want to thank Jane, Sharon, Tanya, Loretta, and Terry, and everyone else that has joined us today. And please feel free to send us any of your questions.
And of course, our live studio audience.
Yay!
Thank you very much, everybody.
So send us any of your questions that you might have. We are so happy to take anything that you want to ask us, even if it has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Absolutely,
okay?
yeah. Yep.
So where are we starting?
All right, so we are going to start with our stuffing
Okay.
to start off with here.
This is starting to remind me of fall.
I know, right? That's very much
I'm getting
the
a little
idea
uncomfortable
here.
with that, but I do love fall cooking because you have
Uh-huh.
all of that rich, kind of savory
Exactly.
flavor.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the great thing too here, guys, is that when you start to think sort of cooler months, you think heartier dishes,
Yes.
right? And that's what we really want to be able to do here, and give you like the pork loin, but show you a way to do it to make it bariatric friendly while still satisfying that crave for that heartier fall process.
And especially since school is starting, people are sending their kids back to school. This is going to be really nice to be able to prep this kind of stuff and have a nice, hearty, yummy meal after a full day of using your brain and working and thinking,
Absolutely.
everything like that.
The other great thing too about these
yeah.
pork loins is that they are 1 ounce, or like 1.5 pounds rather, per pork loin, pork tenderloin. And so you're going to be able to have 3, 4, 5 meals out of that,
Right.
depending.
So remember, in 1 pound, and I know this is going back to grade school, but in 1 pound you have about 16 ounces,
Yep.
which is about 4 servings, because 4 ounces is a good serving for one person.
Absolutely.
You'll get about 20 to 30 grams of protein from just that.
Absolutely.
So if you have a 4-person family, perfect. If you have a 5 nights that you need, meals for, perfect. Okay.
The other great thing is too, for all the busy families out there, fathers and mothers and everybody out there, this is a really quick dish. You'll be amazed to see how quickly this dish comes together.
And as you're going along and cooking, I'm going to be giving some tips for weekly meal prep, because I know a lot of people are either interested in it or have done it and haven't seen great results because they've done it for a week and then they never kept doing it. So you don't have to spend the whole day on Sunday doing meal prep. That's not the idea.
Such a great point.
And by the way, when you're doing meal prep, I really recommend having like a podcast or some music going, and maybe get the family involved, because it's going to be a lot more enjoyable, and it's not just going to be you preparing and slaving in the kitchen. It's going to be more of a family affair. And please get good containers, right? I
So
mean,
important.
how many times do you go
So
into that
important.
drawer and there's containers with all different lids, you haven't organized anything, your husband left all of the containers at work, this is what my husband does, and you have everything mismatched. So get yourself a nice set of containers that you can use for the whole week, okay? And I think a lot of people also don't know how much they should be eating. So like in terms of the actual portion size, at a certain point after surgery, you will eventually increase up to about a cup to a cup and a half of food at a time. And you shouldn't really go over 1.5 cups, okay? So that's pretty much the limit that you should be
Yeah, the other
looking
thing
at.
I would note too is that you want to be able to, if you're feeling hungrier, because this has happened to me, rather than increasing the portion size, increase the amount of times that you eat per day.
Okay.
I think that's really sort of a key thing to note too, is that you want to be able to again, you're not eating more portion, eating more per sitting, but you're eating more often.
Yeah.
And again, that same lean protein, leafy green veg, still staying within the guidelines of the meal, but you're not as worried about the actual quantity itself.
And I got a question the other day on Facebook. What's like the definition of grazing, basically? Like how often are you eating for
I'm
it to
so
count
guilty,
as?
so guilty of grazing.
But if it's like 2 hours apart, that's pretty much okay. You know, it's less than 2 hours that it kind of becomes, snacking and noshing and grazing, or however you want to call it. And if you're not, so I found that a lot of patients are either will be able to eat more at one sitting and have fewer meals, or they have smaller meals and can eat more often. So
Right.
if you're one that can eat more often, don't be nervous about it. Don't be upset about it. If you stick within the guidelines, like Mike was saying, you're going to be fine. And then if you do eat bigger portions, a way to actually fill yourself up is to make sure that you're eating enough of the non-starchy veggies. I had a patient that came in just last week. She was feeling starving, and then she increased the non-starchy veggies.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's something
and
that'll
again,
help.
too, if you have questions, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing it right, if I'm not, to the group, guys. That
Yeah.
comp Facebook page, that is your best friend in this journey. We're all in this together. Trust me, there's people on that page that have been through what the questions that you have
Right.
and are more than happy to offer you the proper advice.
Okay, let's smell this.
Mm-hmm.
Our smell-o-vision is
Yes,
working.
exactly.
So we have a question. Okay, so just I don't know if some people came on a little bit later and they didn't see that we don't have the air fryer tonight, and I apologize, but we will be having it next time. We do have the Instapot this time, but I will tell you a couple of things in the air fryer that are amazing are carrots, really any non-starchy veggies, carrots, Brussels sprouts, zucchini. You can even take a little bit of like almond flour and put it over the zucchini and make zucchini fries.
Yum.
And then you just have to. The key is really to get a good recipe where you can say how long do I have to cook it for and what is the temperature. And then one of the questions was, can this be frozen? And I'm gonna say yes, it can be frozen.
Yep.
Because it has enough moisture in it that it'll keep.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I do
I
want to
would just
thank.
note
Yeah.
that- go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to thank some people that hopped on. Nicole, Tova, Ashley, Daryl, Kelly, Janae,
guys. Thank you for joining us.
Melissa. Okay.
All right, guys. So we're stuffing here. So we've got our minced garlic, our minced onions as well. Just some basic yellow onion. We're going to go ahead and medium dice our apples as well, our Granny Smith apples. And so rather small dice, because since we're doing a stuffing, we want to make sure that these are nice and bite-sized. So we've cored the apple itself here. And now this is all comes down to, so when you think about size and dicing, you really want to focus on the actual width of the ingredient itself of your cut, right? So I can't, if I go a little wider, I'm more of a large dice. If I go a little thinner, I'm more of a small dice.
Okay.
So that's really going to dictate, that cut here is going to dictate the actual size of your
And
finished
is it
product.
just because we want to make it a little?
Yeah,
Yes,
see that? We are
this is
live.
So is that because you wanted to get it a little bit softer?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Plus, I
Good.
want to. Plus, based on the size, I want to make sure these are nice and bite-sized so that they match everything else going into the dish itself.
Okay, good. So, okay. Lena, Kim, Brenda, thanks for coming on. And Mike, you got a shout out from Kathleen.
Thank you,
Very
Kathleen.
cool. Kelly, I need more information about which website you're talking about for support. Okay. So this is looking good, smelling good. Sateria, welcome. And tonight we got some questions about which recipes we're making. So if you just came on, logged on, we are making a pork loin 2 ways. One stuffed with apples and pumpkin seeds, so we're making kind of a stuffing, essentially, and one made with garlic butter.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right, guys, we've got our stuffing going here. As you can see, I'm adding a little bit more fat to my pan. I'm gonna add a little bit of apple cider vinegar in a second here.
Okay. And so the group that we're talking about for support is the comp website. It's the comp Facebook site. I think we got a question about that.
Okay.
And then also remember that you can always make an appointment with me for one-on-ones if you just want to talk things out. And we will eventually be making support groups, not just once a month, but during the day for post-ops to come in and just talk out some of the challenges of being post-op, following the diet, and getting back to basics, okay? So just a little bit about some meal prep ideas, by the way, are just to have easy grab-and-go things in the fridge all the time. If you run out of things, you have to go and buy them again.
Yes.
So yogurts, okay? Cheese sticks. You can even have, what did I write down here? Fruit, cut up veggies, sliced low sodium ham, turkey, sliced low fat cheese. Have those things that are grab and go easy. Hard boiled eggs. You can have them for all week.
And also, too,
Yeah.
something real quick on meal prep, too. Don't necessarily feel like you have to prep for the whole week either, right? Like, oh, I have to all 14 meals a week. Otherwise, I can't do this.
No.
Build in some meals where, I'm going to go and grab some lunch today. I'm going to go and grab something today. So be able to sort of incorporate,
Flexible.
yeah, exactly, some flexibility into your meal prep. so you don't feel overwhelmed by it. Or start slower. I'm going to meal prep for 6 days, for 6 meals this week, and then I'm going to build up from there. So don't feel like it's a very binary thing where it's all or nothing.
Right, and you could say, okay, I'm going to pick 2 recipes for dinner. I'm going to pick 2 recipes for lunch.
Exactly.
And
That's perfect.
those are the things that you're making for the week. If you, again, get sick of those things, throw them in the freezer, or you could just switch up the proteins you're using. So you could say, I'm going to have a big salad for lunch for a couple of days this week, but I'll use salmon and shrimp, and then I'll use some chicken.
Exactly.
So you could just switch it up.
Yep.
I always have a big thing of tuna or chicken salad with light mayo in the fridge, always ready to go. So you could just take a scoop of it, put it on a bed of lettuce. You have a meal right there.
Absolutely.
Also look at Pinterest and have an arsenal of recipes.
Yeah.
Have like your 5 go-to recipes that you can always make. What do we throw in there?
So we had a
I
little
feel
bit
like
of,
I missed
I was
a
going to
step.
say, so we had a little bit of pumpkin seeds in here, guys. So as you can see, what we're really doing is we're really building these flavors, right? So we added our onions, garlic first, got those nice and sauteed. Again, saute means a little or no color, so you want about a medium heat on your pan. So medium heat on your pan, extra virgin olive oil. Once that starts to perfume, you'll start to smell it. Then you add your minced onion, minced garlic in. Allow that to cook. Again, that'll start to perfume. Add in your cored, small diced grain-smith apples. Let them, again, start to perfume a bit. They'll start to soften a bit. And then you add in your pumpkin seeds next. So
Right.
finally, we're going to add in just a little touch of apple cider vinegar as well.
And I gotta say that the pumpkin seeds, remember that we talk about seeds and nuts and almonds and cashews and all of these as high fat items, but if you use a smaller amount of them, you can really get the health benefits of them.
Absolutely.
Okay? So pumpkin seeds, very, very high in zinc, which is a really great antioxidant, and very
In case
high
you're
in
low in your
vitamin
zinc,
E.
friends.
Yes.
I know I am. All right.
It is a common deficiency after surgery.
Huh.
So,
What are you, nutritionist?
I don't know. I'm only here on Sleeve Chef, right? I'm just visiting, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Jana Wolff.
Okay. So it smells really good. I like the smell of the vinegar too. It gives it some complexity.
Absolutely, yeah. Vinegar is a great way, everybody. Vinegar is something really nice that you can add to a dish that'll brighten it up from that acidity without adding a ton of calories.
Right. Yeah, it gives it a little.
But the only thing you want to be careful of here is that vinegar will burn off because we're using a wide pan like this. So that vinegar will burn off. So once it's gone, it's going to start to stick to the pan, basically, right? Become very viscous.
Okay.
So you
I
just want
didn't
to kind of
realize that.
Yep. So you want to go ahead and just pull that right off. We're going to allow that to cool. Now we're going to move on to our pork.
All right, great. So if you're just joining us, we just made the stuffing for our pork. We're going to do pork loin 2 ways, and I guess we're going to start now.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
what are we doing yet with the Instapot? Have we done anything yet?
We have not
you
done
turned it on or
anything yet. Nope.
anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing yet. So we're going to store for our pork loin, or our pork tenderloin rather. We need to butterfly this. So this is a very, very slow and steady procedure. So you really want to focus on getting right in the middle of the pork. You want to lay your hand on top. You want to make sure that your knife is facing up, tilted up rather than being down. That's how you go keep that angle. You just want to very carefully guide your knife through here. Don't rush. And
Okay.
that'll allow you to.
And you have to be careful of your other hand.
Yes, very,
Okay.
very careful with the other hand.
Yeah, and thank you, Krista and Samantha and Peggy and Andy for coming on in. And please let us know if you have any questions. We are making 2 types of pork loin tonight.
All right.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Great.
So we're going to do a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper on this on both sides. Very important to season our food.
Okay, and Melissa started making her own homemade Greek yogurt using Fairlife milk. It's awesome.
Wow, that's great.
So that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
I like that. And I think that that's something that you can absolutely make in the Instapot as well.
That's what I have
The
heard.
Greek yogurt. And Melissa, tell us if you've made it in the Instapot or you're just making it on your own. We'll wait for your answer.
All right, so a little salt and pepper here on both sides.
Okay. Now, what if you are salt sensitive? Can we forego some of the salt?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what's so great about this recipe, and generally all recipes, is you can tailor them to fit your own personal preferences. So if you're salt sensitive, If you don't want to add any salt at all, that's perfectly fine. I would just say be mindful of if you're gonna add ingredients in here as well. Like for example, the pumpkin seeds, they had come pre-roasted, and so when they come pre-roasted, people will already salt them.
Yes.
They'll already add some salt to them, so that's something to be mindful of.
That's a really great point. I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but some of the folks on our comp Facebook group have made an amazing comp recipe group. So if you're interested in joining that and adding your own recipes and contributing, that might be really nice if you're looking for extra recipes that are starch free. So I am part of that recipe group, and if you want to be part of that as well, you could just message me and I'll add you in.
All right, guys. So we went ahead for our pork stuffing here. As you can see, we've stuffed our pork loin. So we went ahead and butterflied it out, and then we're going to go ahead and just simply fold that in. So we're going to have the stuffing off to the side here, and we're just going to simply grab the pork and just fold it right on over, like so.
Okay. And now, if you don't have an Instapot, you can certainly bake that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So
You know?
if you're going to go in a traditional cookie style, you can simply sear it on your pan, and then you're going to pop it right into the oven. So sear on both sides, nice hot pan, very little fat in the pan. You might add that to the top of your pork, sear it, and then about a minute and a half both sides, flip it, pop it into an oven, 350 degrees, cook it for about 20 to 25 minutes. You want to get your pork to about 145, 150 degrees as far as the total temperature.
Good.
So medium, well, depending on preference.
Okay. So what's up next?
All right, so next up we're going to do our other pork tenderloin. This is going to be with our garlic and herb butter. So we've got our softened butter here. So it's very important you want to make the butter pliable. So you want it to be at room temperature. So you can see here how it's like spreadable. Spreadable.
You can also do, there's like Smart Balance and Earth Balance butters that have plant sterols in them. So those are very good for cholesterol, for lowering your cholesterol.
Absolutely.
So if you wanted to use those instead, kind of has very similar properties, I would say, to butter. And you can use those. That's Earth Balance or Smart Balance.
Yep, so we got our herbs in here. I prefer dried herbs for this particular application. You can certainly use fresh.
And usually we use fresh.
We do, I know.
I'm very surprised that
I
we're
know.
using dried now. So why are we using the dried? Is it because we have enough oil to kind of juice it up?
I prefer to do, especially for herb butters, I like doing dried herbs in here.
Okay.
Just because that flavor is a bit more concentrated in dried herbs than they are in a traditional.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So Tanya wants to know the difference between the Instapot and the regular pressure cooker.
Ooh, good question. Honestly, that's a great question. Functionality. That is the primary thing. In the end, this is a pressure cooker, right? A pressure cooker is a pressure cooker is a pressure cooker. So it's you could say, well, what's the difference between an iPhone and a flip phone? They both do the same thing, except for one is way more advanced, right? You can send text messages on a flip phone. You can make phone calls on a flip phone. But in the end, you can take pictures on a flip phone. But in the end, the iPhone is just way more advanced because you've got more functionality. You've got apps you can load on there.
So it's
email
the
you can send
iPhone
stuff.
of the pressure cooker.
Exactly.
Okay.
Same idea. Just the next evolution, if you will, of a pressure cooker.
Okay. And I guess like you could kind of say it's similar to a crock pot in that way as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, so a crock pot isn't using. It's heated from the bottom, but it's not using that concentrated pressure. Pressure cookers are actually very, very dangerous too. That's something that you have to really note here too. Is that a pressure cooker, if not handled, you have to be really, really careful because they literally are constantly under pressure. It's really concentrating that and pulling all the air out and using all that and really concentrating. That's why it cooks it so quickly.
So are these less?
These are much more safe because it's more advanced.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
It is safe. Don't worry.
Yeah, and also know when you're meal prepping during the week, having shortcuts is very important as well. So if you want to get pre-cut vegetables, spend a couple of extra bucks, and you can take away the time that it takes to cut and throw away all the extras.
Right.
Also having frozen veggies, frozen fruit, things like that is always really.
So we've got all sorts of goodness happening
Okay,
here.
what's happening?
So we are just doing a nice little covering of that garlic herb butter on our pork loin.
Okay.
On our pork tenderloin here. See here, guys? Yum, yum, yum. And the idea, so there's a culinary method called barding, which literally means to take some sort of fat, in our case butter, and apply it to a roast. Even though we're not roasting this, the same application applies here. Because this is a leaner cut of meat, we're simply introducing more fat to it.
Could we do olive oil if we wanted to?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good.
All right. So.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we up to next?
All right, now, get this guy ready. All right, got something here.
And if you do have an Instapot and you're working on kind of figuring it out, there are so many YouTube videos that I've watched myself. There are lots of websites that give you directions. And so we're putting both of them in at once, correct?
Exactly, yep.
Okay. So it's nice that the flavors kind of go together as well.
Exactly.
You probably don't want to put two things that are completely
Yep, and you also want to note too here, guys, is that these are roughly the same size, so they're going to cook at the same speed.
Okay,
right?
good.
Cook at the same time.
How long are we putting them in there?
Great question. So these are going to be in here for anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay, great. Yes, we have a question.
Are there different temperatures on the Instapot? I don't have
Great question. So you've got, in terms of pressure, you've got a low pressure and a high pressure. So for our application, we're going to use a higher pressure because we're going to cook it more quickly versus a lower pressure that, again, will take a little bit more time to cook it. So for those lower pressure, I'd imagine you do something more like a tougher cut of meat. Think like ossobuco, think like a beef brisket, that sort of thing. Granted, not that size, but still.
Nice, good. All right. So why don't you walk us through what you're doing now? Is it on and going?
Yep, so it is on. It is currently preheating. So
Okay.
it's basically building pressure is what it's doing. And then once it's ready, we'll go ahead and get it set for our 7 to 10 minutes, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay, very cool. Good. So while we're waiting, I do want to touch on a couple other things with meal prep.
Yeah.
So if you miss meal prep on your typical day, like Sunday or Saturday, don't forgo the whole week. You still have the whole week to go. I know a lot of people that said, oh, well, I forgot to do everything on Sunday. Whether it's meal prepping, going shopping, or even writing down what you eat, like logging your foods, and then they'll just forgo the whole week. Don't let that one slip up
So important.
get you, you
So
know?
important.
Yeah, just keep going.
Yeah.
And remember when I was talking about shortcuts like frozen vegetables and pre-cut vegetables, think of also like rotisserie chickens.
Oh,
or
yeah.
even, if you're 1 week kind of lazy and you don't feel like, purchasing the raw chicken and all of that and making your own, you can go all the way to the back of the grocery store and they usually have things already pre-made, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the little pieces of chicken, and you can get like usually a family dinner and just throw it into the oven.
Rotisserie chickens are one of my favorite things to have.
They are so
if you're on, if
easy.
you don't have a lot of time, you want to get something done very quickly, rotisserie chickens are the best.
Yes, and you can also use them as snacks. I know a lot of people want to have snack foods as snacks, but you really don't have to.
Yeah.
You can use just like that's where you can get your protein in, if you're having trouble getting it in, which I know a lot of people, especially within the first year after surgery, are still having issues getting protein in, okay? What else? Okay, my go-to food. Oh, Kim.
There you go.
Kim likes the rotisserie chicken as well. All right, good. And Tivoli, welcome. Terry, welcome. And Terry's asking, is it vented or non-vented?
So it's actually going to vent. So it's got to build all that pressure and keep all that pressure in. And once it finishes, it's going to release all that pressure and actually vent out.
Okay. And if you go to any of these meal prep websites, I mean, there's so many of them. I was overwhelmed looking at them when I first started making my own food. But right now, there's so many people like on Instagram and on Pinterest putting up like really good ideas. For instance, if you're doing, let's say you're doing just fish or chicken, like a couple of different types of proteins and veggies, simple stuff, or you're baking some fruit, like baked apples or something. You can use all of the racks in your oven and just throw in everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All at once. So minimal mess, right?
Definitely.
Because you're not using all these other things.
Well, and too, I mean, keep in mind, the other thing I like to say for meal prepping is that don't feel like you have to get all your meals done at Sunday. I've got to get everything done, or otherwise my week is ruined.
Right.
Do a few, come up to a Wednesday, and then do the rest on a Wednesday.
Yeah, you might be sick of whatever you just made.
Right, exactly. And
I
then
might
add a
not
little bit of
wanna eat the
variety
pork
into,
loin.
for sure.
Yeah. And then something like this is super easy, super contained. You know, a lot of people feel like they have to tear apart their whole kitchen to do a week's worth of food, or even just a few days worth.
And the other thing is too, just keep your food prep simple, right? Oh, I'm just gonna do some tuna. I'm just gonna do some seared tuna with some sautéed vegetables. Perfect, right? It doesn't have to be gourmet. It doesn't have to be. Oh well, I was on Food Network and I saw they do a roulade with. It's like no. It's just saute 4 ounces of lean protein, leafy green veg, a healthy starch or a starchy veg, and boom, there you go.
Yes, as long as you're not in the 6-month mark.
Yes, exactly.
So,
thank you.
But you're welcome. See, we forget.
We do.
It can be very simple, and you don't have to make every single meal a party meal.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
I often find that people think, well, if I'm not in the mood for something, I don't want to eat it.
Right, and that's the key.
Well, guess what? It's eat to live, right? Not live to eat.
Right.
Some meals can be a party. Some meals can be absolutely highly enjoyable, and even the simple meals can be very enjoyable.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to eat to move on with the day. You know. So, like you said, the really, just simple things might get you through to the next meal.
Right. Exactly, and that's really one of the key things I think is to not be overwhelmed by the process. It should be fun. It should be straightforward. And if there's something like if there's something that you want to eat all the time, that you're like, I want to eat hard-boiled eggs for breakfast every single morning, go for it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might get sick of it. You might have, egg burnout, but at the same time,
egg burnout's a very serious thing.
Yeah. I'm on yogurt right now. I kind of have yogurt burnout, but maybe I'll make my own yogurt in the Instant
I like those Oikos 000 yogurts. Those things are delicious.
I recently had a banana one,
so
and I
good.
just ordered pro granola, so I'm gonna give my little update on my pro granola experience at the next
wonderful.
show.
So as you can see here, guys, we're building some pressure right now.
Yes, as you can see, the steam is coming out. So are we gonna set it now?
We are. We're actually
Set it
cooking
and
right
forget
now.
it.
There you go.
As Brian reminded me earlier,
Exactly.
bringing me back to my childhood of when I used to watch those shows. So, okay, I do want to let the audience know, if you're a regular viewer and you like to tune in every month, we are taking a break in September, so we're taking a vacation, but then we'll be back in October for our next one.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And, but we will still be doing our support group, our in-person support groups. And if you're interested in coming to one, I will make a little plug for next week. We're doing an in-person support group on Thursday at 6 o'clock at GBMC. And we're going to be doing more like a Q&A session where it's just an open discussion. So you can bring your questions, but it will certainly turn into more of an open discussion as we talk. Okay? And I'm going to be giving out handouts as well, which I always like to do. Yeah. No vacation. Tanya, I got to take a vacation. I'm sorry. Okay, so I did plan a trip to Portugal, and I am leaving the country for the first time since I was very, very little. So I'm excited. Okay, so as we're sitting here, you can take this time at home to be cleaning, to be hanging out with your family. Seriously, this is the stuff that we think that we're missing out on when we're food prepping. So yeah. And let's see. I wrote down a lot of things for, you know what else? This is another thing. We often find ourselves overwhelmed during the week because the time is short. And, you get home late and then you're thinking, oh, well, the last thing I want to do is sit down in the kitchen and make a whole meal for the family. This actually saves time. So although it feels like it's not that much, or it feels like a long time when you're actually meal prepping, it saves the time during the rest of the week, and it takes away the choice of what you are eating. So you know that you're going to have nice, clean, healthy meals if you're actually prepping them ahead of time.
Exactly.
Okay? All right, cool. So we have from Terry, the pro granola is good. I will use it as a meal to take to the movies and munch instead of popcorn. I love it. That is a really, really good idea. I often find that popcorn is just one of those foods that is a trigger food for a lot of people. It's a gateway snack. So basically, you have, and I see some people in the audience saying, yes, it is. It's one of these foods, right? You can eat like a garbage bag of it and still be hungry. So that's, if you find yourself kind of spiraling back into those snack foods, taking a step back, getting them out of the house, and honestly going back to meal prep and putting your grocery list together, getting all the stuff that's basically on the outside aisle of the grocery store. Those middle aisles have all of the snacks in them, all of the junky stuff, all of the stuff with minimal nutrition and lots of calories.
Oh yeah, okay? I'm always a big fan of the idea that you could always, it's never ruined, right? It's not binary that way.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I ate a little piece of chocolate. I better go eat the entire bag, otherwise, what have I done? It's just not, there's no reason to beat yourself up.
My saying, right? Slip, don't slide.
Right, exactly.
You can slip up, it's fine. And it's also nothing to beat yourself up over. I hear a lot of people kind of getting down on themselves, especially in the Facebook group. And I know that that's a safe place and everyone can obviously, give out their emotions on the Facebook page. But also I really highly stress to start thinking and taking a step back from those emotions and saying, do I need to feel this way about me eating XYZ?
Right.
Is it saying anything about my character and who I am and my strength? No, it's not. It's just a small slip up that you had. And if it's something that you really want to deal with, with maybe a psychologist or anyone else, that's a great idea. What are we doing?
We are going to do a little sauteed zucchini as our pork loin is cooking. I know.
Okay, so what are we doing with the zucchini then?
All right, so we're going to do some nice little zucchini rings here.
Okay.
You can see I'm cutting them on a bias. So we got this nice this nice cooking area, right? This nice longer flat surface.
Oh, and you can find some great zucchini and squash right now at the farmer's market.
That's actually what
another great time to meal prep. Base what you're meal prepping around what is actually in season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you'll get the freshest meals.
Exactly. So we're doing some nice thin zucchini here.
And I just want to, at this time, thank our guests for being so patient and waiting so patiently for this to be cooked, because it takes a little while, but it's definitely worth it.
Worth the wait.
Okay, good. Let's see. So Tanya was asking where we can get Pro Granola. You can get it on Amazon, but it's a Julian Bakery product, so it's on, I think it's, if you just Google Julian Bakery, you can find a lot of different products on there that are very, very low carb and starch free. So I know that there are no breads and wraps are also starch free as well. Okay. What else? So
yeah. So
what are we doing with this?
So we've got our zucchini here. We've got our yellow squash and our zucchini squash.
Okay, great.
We got a little oil to our pan here.
Good.
This guy's hot.
And just going back to the apples for a second, did you know that apples can actually help with your gut bacteria?
I did not know that.
Yes. So it's very good for your actual microbiome, your intestines, which actually affect a lot of the things going on in your body, like your immunity. And so adding apples, and apple season is coming, so I would add more apples to anything that you're eating, or just as a nice snack.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
All right, so we're gonna wait for our pan to get nice and warm here.
Okay.
Just over here.
And again, thank you everyone for coming. If you have any questions, any thoughts, anything that you've made in an Instapot recently, let us know. And we have a question from the audience.
When you reheat the pork loin, what's the best way to reheat it?
Ooh, good question.
Nice.
Microwave, little bit of stock or water. And then just in a small container and cover it, because you're basically going to steam it. And so that steaming will help, again, add a little bit more moisture and make the pork a little bit more moist after that's sat in the fridge and dehydrated just a bit.
Nice, good. All right. So I would also say for meal prep, in general, know what your staples are. Just know which staples that you're always getting. I always have baby carrots, my spinach, my tuna cans, my cheese sticks, things like that. Just know what your staples are and always have them on the list. Whoever is going grocery shopping in your house should have those things on your list, okay, on that list. So whether it's you or your wife or your husband or your friends that's going grocery shopping, have those on your list. And any of the trigger foods that you know exist in your life, like the popcorn or the crackers or the cookies or the peanut butter, make sure that it's not in the house if you know that you're going to overindulge in it, because out of sight, out of mind is a real thing. Okay, if it's not in the house, you will certainly not overeat it because you actually have to get out of the house to seek it out.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely. Good. All right, guys. So as this is cooking, let's talk a little culinary 101 for our friends here.
Yay.
All right. So a couple things. Sautéing is what we're doing here. It's a very common technique that you'll find when you're cooking, and so it really means to cook with little or no color. Again, we're going to heat over medium heat. We're going to get that olive oil. You'll start to smell perfume just a bit here. You start to see it. There we go. All right.
What's going on over there?
That's
Tell us.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, man.
Man?
Little stumped. A little stumped with what's going on with our friendly Instant Pot here.
Okay.
This might be user error.
Well, again, this is a live show. Anything can happen.
That's what's fun about doing it live, guys. You never know. All right.
Does it say that it's doing
Yeah,
it?
it looks like it's preheating.
Okay.
But I think I said it for a little too short. Aha, there we go.
Okay.
All right, and away
Good.
we go. All right, sorry about that, guys. We know everybody's hungry, but don't worry. Fast food ain't good, and good food ain't fast, right? And yes, I'll take it.
I like it.
All right.
I like it.
So, yeah, so a little culinary 101 here. So we've got our pan. That's a pan. Stainless steel or a cast iron pan. And so we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to it. Extra virgin, in case you don't know, is actually the first cold press of the olive. So that's the first juice, first oil that's extracted from the olives themselves when they're first
really?
pressed. Yes, it's a
I didn't
extra
know
virgin. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
friendlier olive oils
Okay.
as opposed to the traditional olive oils.
So what? And then what about the regular olive oil?
Regular olive oil is actually from the previous pressing. So it's from a next press.
Okay.
Right, exactly.
Okay. I did not know that.
Exactly.
I'm learning.
This is a family-friendly
today.
show, so we'll keep the jokes to a minimum. I see Brian smirking in the background. So we got some. So put your hand over top here as well. You'll see me do this a lot. I put my hand over top. I can feel the heat coming off the pan, so it gives me an idea of actually how hot the pan is, plus the smell. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of our zucchini. Let me grab some garlic here.
And thank you to Christy, Amber, and Joe, a previous guest, for coming on.
Wonderful. So let's do a little smashed garlic, and we'll do a little
Okay.
sauteed zucchini. It's going to be delicious.
And one day I'm going to bring my garlic press on here, and we're going to use it. And does anyone out there have a garlic press? Because it's one of my favorite kitchen appliances.
Well, wonderful.
It just smushes the garlic, and you can just throw it right in the pan. It's very easy.
Yes.
Another thing that you can use for meal prep.
Exactly. So
Hello,
what I'm doing for the
Joe.
garlic here, guys, is we're taking some whole cloves of garlic, and we're just very simply taking the garlic itself. I'm putting my knife over top of it, the palm of my hand, very carefully, apply a little bit of pressure, and just crushing that garlic. Smashing that garlic right there. Here we go. All right, so pan looks good. Add the garlic in, you'll hear a nice little wham, nice little sizzle.
And I do recommend, if you are in the stages where you're really just eating protein, at a certain point, maybe months out, you really want to be incorporating more of your veggies,
Definitely.
your fruits and veggies. It'll give you a lot of vitamins and minerals, and it'll really fill you up and keep you and hold you until the next meal.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
And yes, Allison, thank you. And Jill and Angela, who are also in the audience, which is fun.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Have our zucchini in here.
So we're just doing a regular old saute.
Exactly.
One of my favorites.
Super simple.
And if you don't like veggies, I recommend that you open up your mind to the wonders of garlic and olive oil.
Or, yes,
Or what?
or you join us on the show and we help open your mind to the wonderful simplicity and deliciousness that is extra virgin olive oil and some garlic and some veg.
Exactly. You got it. And every month, our amazing marketing team puts out a poll, and you can just plug your name right in there and be pulled out of a hat, basically, to be, to be on the show. So you can be in here at WMAR at a TV studio, which is kind of cool. I never thought I'd be sitting in a TV
watching
studio.
all the fun that we have live.
Yeah.
All sorts of great questions. How's it? So questions there, guys. What do you like to do for meal prep? Actually, hold on, Brian, come here. Come on, Brian, come around. I have seen your meal prepping. What do you recommend? What do you like to do?
We're putting you on the spot
I'm
now.
kind of like the same game.
Okay. So what about that works for you?
Ground beef.
Okay. Turn the face to people, my friend.
Ground turkey, ground beef. Veggies.
There you go.
Gotta
Okay.
keep your veggies. Spinach.
So you like ground
Brussels
stuff.
sprouts. Yeah.
Yeah, easy.
Salmon. Chicken breast.
Mm-hmm.
Quick, simple things that just take 15, 20 minutes to cook in the oven, and you cook. I do it for the whole week. So.
When you cook everything, do you put it all in the oven? So
Yep.
you have like the...
No. So we take different times.
Okay.
Usually the ground turkey is cooked on the stove, and while the ground turkey's cooking, the fish or the chicken's in the fridge.
Yeah. And
Along with, in the oven, along with the veggies sometimes
Yeah.
too. Brussels sprouts. And,
I like that. And I think that it's really worth noting that a lot of people forget about the ground stuff.
Yeah.
And like chicken
Quick and easy.
sausage,
Yeah.
turkey bacon, all
Absolutely.
those
Easy.
quick things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ground turkey is naturally lean to begin with,
Yeah.
as well, as I'm sure you know.
and it's all foods that you can freeze.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
And then throw them in the microwave for 2 minutes, and they taste pretty much just as good as they did coming out of the oven.
That's awesome. And now you guys have kids, right?
Yeah.
So are you cooking for the whole family?
No, my
Okay.
kids want nothing to do with my meal. their version of meal prep is Chick-fil-A or McDonald's.
I got it.
They don't
Loud
really
and
buy
clear.
examples.
Prepping is actually getting the keys for the car to go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
cool.
That's awesome, man. So what about breakfast? What do you do for breakfast? What's your go-to? I know breakfast is probably
Around
already sitting
four
meal prep
whole
for.
eggs. I'm sorry, 4 egg whites and 2 whole eggs.
Okay.
And a slice of Dave's Killer Bread. I'm in love with that bread. So,
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So Dave's Killer Bread. What about it you
Yeah.
like?
Just different flavors.
Okay.
And again, you freeze that too, and you just throw it in the toaster and it tastes
Nice.
really good too with almond butter.
Awesome.
Same thing every day.
There you
And
go.
I think that Jill has some ideas
I was
for
gonna say,
breakfast
please.
as well.
Yeah.
So,
I do.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to
Surprisingly,
hear.
my friends will be surprised to see me at a cooking show. But I do the eggs in the muffin tins.
Oh yeah.
And with sauteed vegetables.
Oh, they're great.
And so I grab 2 each morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then for dinner, I'd like to make fajitas in the air fryer.
Ooh.
So that keeps all the oil underneath, and
Yeah.
everything stays still crispy and delicious.
How do you do the seasoning for the fajita?
I sometimes cheat and get the Purdue already seasoned
Right.
chicken, and sometimes we get the plain chicken and we add some fajita seasoning, but I look at the sodium too.
Okay, great.
That's
So-
really, really important.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said
Definitely is.
Right.
I love Mrs. Dash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
so many different
They do.
flavors now that
Oh, that's awesome.
it makes it
Right.
easy, and it's cheap, and it's
Yeah.
and it's not bad for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a critical thing to note too. Like Jill was saying, the idea that with some of the other things, you really be mindful of the sodium,
Yeah.
right? That sodium
Yeah.
content will sneak up on you.
Yeah.
All right.
Will.
And just as a good rule of thumb, if you're looking at the sodium, sometimes we look and then we don't really know what number we're looking for. So if it's over 300 milligrams per serving, it's pretty high. If it's under 140, and this is basically guidelines put out by the USDA, if it's under 140 milligrams per serving, it's pretty good. Okay, anywhere in between there is moderate. All right.
So then my next question for you guys is exercise. What do you find that works for you
We
in
have
terms
the
of?
two. I would say we have 2 exercise superstars
I
on
would.
the show.
I would.
He's
So,
the gym star.
I was
You're
going to
the-
say,
yeah,
what,
and you're the
what
road
works for you,
star.
Brian? Like when you first started, you're like, I'm going to go 3-4 days a week, and then build up from there.
No, I
or-
pretty much my whole way of doing things since day one of deciding to change my life was go every day.
Yeah.
So I go 6 days a week, majority of the time.
You go morning. So, I mean, you obviously have a
Usually
very,
mornings.
You have a very
I-
busy
yeah.
life, right? You've got
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
You've got a 9 to 5.
Yeah. I usually do the mornings. I'm usually there between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. every morning.
That's
And
early.
There's nobody there. I get to do what I need to do, and I can be there longer if I want. And,
Right.
There's no 15 people with the same machine kind of thing.
Right,
all the
that's
time.
true.
And then cardio after. I mean, that's pretty much my days every day.
Great. How long do you do cardio for?
20, 30 minutes.
Okay, great. And Jill, how'd you get into running?
So from the comp site, I found the Run GBMC group.
That's great.
And I started joining them on Saturday mornings. And we
Nice.
meet right outside of GBMC, and everyone's at different paces and different levels. Some people just walk. And I started with them and developed amazing friendships that I referenced earlier. And now I'm training for the Charles Street 12 miler.
Wow.
And that's September 1st.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I do like that you started out in a group that basically everyone's at a different place. So you're working out with teams, you're working out individually. You can really tailor it to whatever your preference is, you
Yeah.
know?
You got to
Yeah.
do what you like so that you continue to do it.
Absolutely.
Got to keep it
We
fun.
talked about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
Gotta
you
keep
know,
it fun.
I'm gonna call you out on something. You started exercising as well.
I did.
Let's hear it.
I
CrossFit
did.
King.
Yeah, there you go, man. I what do you call it? So I did the Run GBMC as well. I loved it. This is the camaraderie. I love the people. It was great. Just the community of people. Everybody's encouraging everybody. You know, some people were walking, some people were running. That was really my favorite thing. And started out doing the 3 mile. I was walking. Did an hour and 6 minutes, and then also did the Father's Day 5K, did the Charles 12 miler as well, and then I was just like, you know, I was really enjoying it. I was going to the gym and I was at work, but I wasn't really pushing myself. I wasn't really feeling like I needed more out of it. And that's when I went over to, my wife, Mary, does CrossFit, and so I went over to CrossFit Federal Hill off of Key Highway with Gio and David and all those great people there. And just I've been doing it for about a year and change now. It's been amazing. I love it. I've added more muscle. It's a great culture, great group of people. Very much the same. You know, it can be very intimidating at first, but it's really not. I think it's something that you can modify it to fit you, and it's not a bunch of you know, jocks and athletes and people just average people like all of us here that just want to improve the quality of their life. And
Very
I've got
cool.
nothing but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I mean, that's you know, it's the old joke. You know, how do you tell an atheist, a vegan, and a CrossFitter walk into the bar? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
That's cute.
Right? I mean, it's the same. So, but no, I mean, I love it, and it's an incredible group of people. And I'm just so thankful to be on this journey, and so thankful to be able to do this for everyone on the comp page and
That's
all of
awesome.
you.
That's great.
You know, I mean, it's life changing. It really is,
Definitely.
and it's
So I just have to say something about exercise for a minute. First of all, I'll tell you what I do. I go to my spin classes and I do body pump. I'm a class person.
yeah,
So as you can see, CrossFit, personal gym, basically, runner, gym classes. So all different, right? And there have been study after study after study about how weight loss doesn't really happen from exercise, like in terms of pounds. It'll happen in terms of inches. And also, it's one of the #1 things that can help people maintain their weight losses after weight
100%.
loss surgery.
oh yeah,
Specifically after weight loss surgery. And you guys are always saying, yes, 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 I know, because it's worked for you, but it's actually been shown in study after study after study, which is awesome.
And those body scans show it.
Yes.
Those body scans are amazing.
Yeah,
All right,
so do the body scan. If you come into the office and you haven't gotten yours yet,
All right, this
you can
looks
get yours
delicious.
either at the final appointment if you're pre-op or afterwards, okay? And, Tanya likes the dance classes.
yeah. That's the, you know, Jill had said, you know, just you got to do what works for you. You got to
Yeah.
do what you love. That's such an important part.
Always keep it fun. Always keep it
Exactly.
And Joe is someone that I see all the time at the gym in the morning.
I know.
So
It's
that's kind of cool to hear.
Come here, you.
Okay, so Tanya was asking question about bacon: is turkey bacon really healthier than pork?
Really
It's
good question.
different. It's not healthier. One is not healthier than the other. One just has less fat than the other. So turkey in itself is a less fatty meat than the bacon.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So
if you're watching
bacon,
fat content,
right. So bacon literally comes from the belly of the pork. If you've ever heard of pork belly is basically bacon that's raw, right? So they actually cut it in those millimeter cuts, like if you go to a Korean barbecue restaurant, etc. That's where that pork belly comes from. So bacon is basically salted, cured pork belly that's then thinly sliced, or after being smoked, etc. All right, guys. So, voila, one delicious finished pork loin.
beautiful.
I'm gonna cut this bad boy up.
Can't wait to see how juicy it is.
Yeah, let's see the inside.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, look at this. We got a little turn here.
Is that the stuffed one?
Yep.
That is the stuff. I hope you guys are hungry.
Okay.
This.
This looks great.
Yum, yum, yum. This is our garlic and herb.
Okay, and Sue is cheering you on, Michael.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you,
Very
Sue.
good.
Much obliged. All right. That's a little more rare.
Okay, and Christy and Amanda, thank you so much for coming. If you're just joining us, we have a couple of different types of pork. Pork loin specifically, and just so you know,
Pork tenderloin.
or pork tenderloin, excuse me. Just so you know, the about 3 ounces worth of this, which is usually we'll consume about 3 to 4 ounces to get the 20 to 30 grams of protein, is about 200 calories, 23 grams of protein,
Yeah.
pretty much. So you're getting really what you need for that meal. Okay, and we have some zucchini and squash.
Yeah, I got a little yellow zucchini, a little yellow squash zucchini with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, salt, pepper, and some smashed garlic.
Very good. All right.
Away here. Got this guy away. All right.
Looks good enough to eat.
Hey.
I know. I would eat it right off of that if I was at home.
All right.
That's another joy of meal prep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, that's another. Okay, so
Getting a meal in while you're meal prepping is
that's
perfect
a
time.
big one that a lot of people actually struggle with.
Yeah.
I find because I think one of the top things that I've heard from patients is, well, when I'm cooking in general, whether they're meal prepping or whatever, they're just noshing the whole time. And if you are doing that, we have to take into account how much did we eat during the meal prep time, and how much are we going to take away from our
Absolutely.
meal
Yeah.
and balance it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually I'll do a meal, while the rest is cooking, or we have to wait for the meat to cool down.
Right.
to just build the
Absolutely.
containers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
man.
then if you're cooking things like the starchy stuff for the kids and whatnot, if you're munching on that, also taking that into account as well. So that's
Definitely.
good. So what do we have
Definitely.
here? Let's
All right,
let's
guys.
take a look.
So we have some delicious pork tenderloin. The first one, I know, right? Yum, 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 yum.
Okay.
So the one on the left-hand side here is going to be our pork tenderloin that we stuffed with some sautéed apples and some pumpkin seeds for some nice texture. And then the one on the right-hand side here is going to be our pork tenderloin that we simply basted in some garlic herb butter. And then we did a little bit of sautéed zucchini in the middle.
Beautiful. Let's eat.
Simple, straightforward. Yeah, let's eat.
Okay.
Wonderful.
We'll try it out. And you can already see that there are juices forming right on the bottom. You can always make a little gravy or something to put on top of it, but
Yes,
do we have plates?
I was going to say,
Okay.
grab a little platage here. Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, forks for all.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sue. I'll
Four.
try to have a wonderful vacation. Okay, thank you. And then,
You're welcome.
Tanya had the same experience of, during the holidays is also another one,
Wait.
another time that you're noshing. But,
All right, guys.
okay.
Here. Zucchini. Sit back here.
So what do you think about being on the set at WMAR?
It's pretty cool.
Pretty
Isn't
nice
it fun?
kitchen.
Yeah, man.
I know, I kind of wish I had it at home.
Exactly.
I think I'd like a chef at home.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
I think that would be more useful.
I have one.
There you
I
go.
have one. It's my wife.
Voila.
Okay. I'll trade.
Stuff, yeah. Trade you. Thank you, Jana.
Thank you.
You're welcome. fine.
Okay, we have extra forks too. Okay.
All right, guys.
I think I'm gonna go for the
Please.
I'm going for the
zucchini
stuffed.
first.
There
Oh,
you
you're
go.
going for the stuffed?
Yeah.
So,
No, it's
is that with you?
I need to put it
All
down.
right, dig
so I
in,
can
guys.
I know.
Cut it.
Okay.
All right.
Do we have
I'm gonna go for the vegetable,
Okay.
which I don't normally eat squash and zucchini, and it's delicious.
Wonderful.
So
good.
you're right. You've got to think about adding the garlic and the
All
oil.
about
No,
I
simplicity.
really
Yeah.
don't. I'm not just saying that. I don't eat zucchini and squash.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yum.
That's fantastic.
Yum,
Holy
yum,
moly.
yum.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, hey,
Delish.
thank you so much for tuning in. We had a chance to share a hookup with an Instapot.
Yep.
There was a little bit of learning curve from this guy, but we got it figured out, and everything went well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, quick reminder, we are off in September, but we will be back. The lovely Jana is going overseas, so we will be back
Yes, thank
in
you.
October.
And I want to give a big, huge thank you for taking the time out to join us, Brian and Jill.
Absolutely.
Yes,
you guys
thank
have
you
done
so
a
much, guys.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
You guys have done a fantastic job with all of your efforts, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys for joining
Yes,
us
thank
as
you
well.
so much, everyone. We really appreciate you tuning in. We love doing this for you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you want to be on and join us live on set, Mindy is always happy to post those links in the
polls,
event
yep.
page.
It's in the description.
It's in the description.
Okay.
Thank you. And that being said, everybody, thank you very much. Have a
Thank
great rest of the
you.
evening. Good night.
Good night.